Hi, I'm Allan Finney, and this is what Ayahuasca told me to tell you. Before I get going on today's topic, which is integration, I want to show you something that I thought was pretty funny. You know, I've attempted to do this video series before, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. Maybe I wasn't ready or something, I don't know. So I have to set this up for you. I'm doing ceremonies in Peru, and I'm deep into medicine at this point, and I'm trying to explain integration while I'm sitting in a hammock integrating.
Another very vitally important part of the ayahuasca experience is to be able to take time and integrate that experience. You gain a lot of knowledge and insight and awareness into your life, and you really need to take that time, relax, contemplate, meditate.
Anyway, I think the moral of the story is don't try to explain integration while you're integrating. Which brings us to today's topic, which, if you haven't guessed, is integration and why do I need to do it? So let's talk maybe a little bit about the ceremony itself and then integration. An ayahuasca ceremony can be pretty profound. Like really profound. Like drug addicts will give up their drug of choice in one night. That's how powerful it can be. So what just happened? It's the new you. It's your new normal. And this is your first day. What are you going to do with it? There's an adjustment period for you, certainly, but also for other people in your life. Your relationships are going to change. And just understanding that integration is important is just good preparation for an ayahuasca ceremony. So try to plan out your integration as much as you did, your pre-ceremony work. And what's going on in a ceremony is often described as a peak experience. And for me, that peak experience shows you the capacity of what it means to be a fully functioning human being. And you get to experience that for like 2 or 3 hours. You may experience profound love. And, this happens a lot in ceremonies, or gratitude, or forgiveness, or joy, or thankfulness at a level you never knew was possible, that you've never experienced before in your life. And this is a peak experience. And if you weren't capable of it as a human being, you couldn't experience it. And this in itself is powerfully transformative. But all of this happens in a space of, 3 or 4 hours. So maybe we'll talk for a little bit about what's actually going on in a ceremony. And again, this has been my experience, but I've talked to a lot of people after a ceremony, and this seems pretty common. There's usually a couple of parts to a ceremony, if you can put it into parts. There's the more experiential part of the ceremony where you go into visions, or you feel like gratitude or love, or you feel what's inside of you. And, this can often happen in the first part of the ceremony when the medicine first kicks in. But that's not all, there's more. The other part of the ceremony, and this seems to be quite common as well. And this is where you're given the teachings or the data dump or the knowledge or whatever you want to call it. And for me, that knowledge is just impeccable. It is holistic and profound and just so complete. And you can be given a lot of information. But here's the thing. Having a peak experience or profound insights into yourself is one thing. But you're having this in the space of 3 or 4 hours, and it can get pretty busy, like really busy. There can be lots of stuff going on. Anyway, after the ceremony, you really need to integrate what the hell just happened. You need some reflection or contemplation. You've just been gobsmacked or dumbstruck or blown away or something. Maybe astounded is a good word. You've just cleansed the doors of perception. You've reconnected to our shared humanity, or you've reconnected to yourself. You've just had a peak experience. So now you really need to, if you can, just sit back and think about things and try to figure out what's this going to look like in your life. And hopefully you have some time to do that. Although some people, based on their circumstances, just have to jump back into their day-to-day life, which people do, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the point is, the end of the ceremony is not really the end of things at all. It's just the beginning. It's a new day, a new dawn, a new you. So what are you going to do after something like that? Ideally, you're going to reflect and try to understand what you've just experienced. Journaling is a really good idea. And, somebody told me you should try to integrate for 10 days after an ayahuasca ceremony. So if you did 3 ceremonies, that would be 30 days, which for me would be an ideal situation. But a lot of times, that just isn't possible. And integration can be many things. It's not just alone time. My daughter and I would sit up after a ceremony and talk for hours. Everybody else would be asleep and we'd just be chatting away, talking about what happened. It was beautiful. And it was our way of integrating, what happened in that ceremony. Or the day after a ceremony, everybody would just sit and talk and enjoy each other's company for hours, or go off by themselves. It's whatever works for you, and you'll know exactly what you need to do. You'll just feel it. I want to talk, or I want to contemplate, or I want to be by myself, or go for a walk in nature. You'll know what to do. At the retreats that I've been to in Peru, the schedule was Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays were ayahuasca days, kind of like the work week. And the weekend break was just a great break. Very nice. Sit, contemplate, play music, talk, share, whatever you need to do. But I've also been in ceremonies in Canada where people would go to work the next morning after a ceremony. So maybe on a Friday night we'd do a ceremony and they'd have to work on, the Saturday morning. So after they'd been up, 1 or 2 in the morning doing ayahuasca, and you jump up the next day and off you go to work. But here's what would happen. Most of the time, and most of the times they talk to me about it, they'd do just great at work. And then they'd come back and have another ceremony with us on Saturday night. So while the rest of us were basking in that after ceremony glow and just sitting around talking and sharing, or, going for a walk, they were at work. And for me, here's where the intelligence of ayahuasca is just readily apparent. It seems like ayahuasca knows what's going on in your life and just somehow gives you the energy and the capacity to do whatever it is you need to do. So the timing of the ceremony and what you need to do in your life all seem to be taken into account, which when you think about it, is truly astounding. This is intelligence at a high level. Maybe you want to think of it as your own innate wisdom or the collective wisdom of humanity or whatever. And however you want to think about it, the job of ayahuasca is to get us where we need to be, or to get rid of whatever it is that's no longer good for us. And a lot of that can happen in one ceremony. So you need that integration time to understand what happened, to adapt to the new you. And like I said, a notebook can be a really good idea. And if you can, keep your day-to-day interactions to a minimum, or hang out with people that you've done this ceremony with, or stay at home and meditate, or go for a walk in nature, or whatever works for you. But try not to jump back into your usual day-to-day routine if that's possible. And it's like I always say, you get what you need in a ceremony, and you're never given any more than you can handle. even if you don't think so at the time. And this also seems to extend to the integration process. So happy integration, and I wish you all the best in finding that light and love and happiness. And even if it's not with ayahuasca, because ayahuasca isn't the only path out there, but just treat yourself with kindness and love and dignity. We're all in this together. I'm Allan Finney, and this is what ayahuasca told me to tell you.